There's a real sense of anticipation at this time of year. Winter is definitely here. And while the garden is for the most part lying dormant, there is something special happening. Over the next hour, we'll be braving the winter weather to show you berry fields in a whole new light. Hello, welcome to Gardener's World Christmas Special. While the early morning frost might give berry fields a particular beauty, let's not forget that most plants here are now either dormant or dying back. Once the frost has gone, there's a group of plants that really shine out in the winter garden. Evergreens. A couple of days ago, we had the winter solstice, when in the northern hemisphere the sun is at its lowest. And long before Christianity, man was celebrating, and sometimes out of fear, that sinking of the sun by bringing green boughs into buildings, by feasting, by having lights. Now, of course, we do have some evergreens in the garden. This choisia will stay true to its colour throughout winter. We have hellebores, we have mahonia. In the courtyard, Joe has put in plants that will see us through winter by being evergreen. Now, evergreens, of course, are really well adapted to thriving at this time of year. Many of them survived the last ice age, and most of them have got foliage that is tight, thin needles with waxy coverings that can resist both cold and drought, because, of course, when it's freezing, it's effectively a drought position too. What I want to do today is to develop our conifer garden so that we really have a celebration of green. Now, if you remember, in October, I prepared the soil. I added lots of composted bracken, dug it over, added grit, and then placed a few sort of sculptural pieces of wood to get the right feel and tone to relate the planting to. I did put in a few plants, but now we're at the position where I really need to have dropped in popularity in recent years, and I suspect that's because most people associate them with a style of gardening that was prevalent in the 50s and 60s and 70s, where they were used in island beds, perhaps with heather, or surrounded by gravel, and they were treated as individual specimens. And that somehow doesn't feel very modern. But what we're trying to do here is make something that's new. And I think the way to go with conifers is to use them in a dark, Gothic way. Think Lord of the Rings, or maybe Arthur Rackham. Now, the way to do this, I think, is not to draw out an accurate plan, but just to start to place plants in the ground, in their pots, move them around and get a feel for it. And that's what I've started to do. You can see that here. And I'm starting with this, which is just a Lawson cypress. I say just a Lawson cypress because they are terribly common, but this is a wonderful plant. This is called Little Spire. It'll only grow to 2 meters in 10 years, so small enough for a very, very small garden. And incidentally, a lovely smell too. And I thought if I put this one over here to balance the height that we're building up on the other side, I think I can get that into the ground now. Take my coat off and get it planted. Now, Lawsons will grow almost anywhere, but we have added a lot of composted bracken to encourage the pH to drop a bit. As long as the pH is roughly neutral, they should be fine. Now, I'll just take fill like that. It is important to firm even a dwarf plant in well, because it'll take a while for those roots to get out into the surrounding soil and steady them. But immediately, you've got the juxtaposition between this beautiful stump and the Lawson cypress, and you're starting to get something interesting. Okay, now over here, there's a podocarpus. Now, this is chocolate box, and at the moment it's touched with brown, but as it gets colder, that brown will intensify and we'll get some height and change of colour. Don't have to think of conifers as just being green or just variations of yellow. Now, the podocarpus is fairly loose, even though it will grow upright. But the juniper that I planted earlier, that's Juniper communis compressor, is as tight a shape as you can get in a conifer. It grows very slowly. That's about 6 years old, and eventually it'll reach the size and exactly mirror these marvellous sea-worn pieces of wood. But at this time of year, it's not conifers that are the most popular evergreen. It has to be holly, and Christmas without holly is not right. However, Louise Benwell Duck in Hampshire feels that any time of the year without holly doesn't seem right.
Things like a moonlit night and a walk in the hollies. That's beautiful. And then in the early summer, when they're all flowering, and you get a still, warm evening, and to walk out here, the beautiful smell of honey. The flowers smell of honey, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Louise has been growing holly at her home in Liss for the last 15 years. Over 4 acres, she has examples of around 150 different varieties. But these won't be cut to make decorations. She sells them to growers as plants in their own right.
I have no horticultural training, but I do love growing things, and the hollies have really not made me into a good gardener, I wouldn't say that, but they've certainly fired my whole interest in the subject. Here is a little formal holly garden. This is one of the very first things I put in, which was originally a little vegetable garden. This is Ilex aquifolium Alaska. It's very hardy and it's enormously free-fruiting. This is Ilex aquifolium Argentea marginata, a hugely popular cultivar. This is the sort of damage done by pigeons. A great fat bird will get in there and knock that down. And it's one of the reasons to keep your hollies really well trimmed, ha-ha. And in a very few minutes, quite an untidy looking bush can be made a lot better. No special skills required. Now, here's an interesting thing. With hollies that have the variegation as the centre of the leaf, like that, we get reversion, some worse than others. Ah, yes, round here. Here is a twig there that is beginning to revert. And it's going back to what the mother plant was, Ilex autoclorensis hendersonii, the great Hendersonii. And that really needs to be taken right out, back to where it comes from. And here is a prime example of a bush being taken over by its reversion. This indeed is Ripley gold, and the bottom has turned completely green, but it's still quite pretty like that. When I first started planting, a whole lot of the hollies just weren't doing very well at all. I was too mean to throw them away, and I thought I'd give them another chance. So I dug a trench up here and just put them in, one after the other. And within a year or two, they decided to be very nice plants and all grew into this beautiful tapestry hedge, and shows people what a beautiful thing a mixed holly screen can be like. It's a magical place, yes. It's a very magical place. But it's the hollies that have done it. It's the hollies that have done it.
Well, I'm a huge fan of hollies, and they can look fabulous when planted formally outside the front door or the porch. But I think, the holly either side, it's a bit obvious. So I'm going to try and get some more colour in. And we've got a fabulous selection of plants here. And there's loads of different planters that you can use, but think about how they're going to fit with the style of your house too. Here's a nice tall wooden planter. One of those either side would look good. You could also go for something like this, faux lead, which is nice and lightweight, and it'll give a really solid traditional feel. Planters often come in sets of 3 because they're transported that way quite easily, like Russian dolls, one fits inside the other. So, you know, we can do something quite interesting with those. You get circular ones, but over here we've got some really nice square ones too. So what I'm going to do is make a tiered planter. So the first thing I've got to do with the big planter is put some crocks in the bottom to make sure it drains out nice and freely. And rather than just filling the whole thing up with compost, because this is just some temporary planting we're doing here, I can use polystyrene to help bulk it up. It's important to water well because this is going to make it very, very free draining. And I'm going to do one planter that's going to look great in the sun, and the plants are going to thrive in the sun using lots of pinks. And I'm also going to do another planter that's more for a shady condition, and that's going to have lots of scent as well, which is really nice at this time of year. Just like that, just sits in there, make sure it's even all the way around. And now onto the fun bit, getting the plants in. And I'm going to start with this lovely pink berried Gaultheria, also known as Pinetia as well. And now this planting is not going to be permanent, so think about where you're going to plant these plants after, when they finish in the pot, because these like a slightly acid condition. I think maybe one on each corner would look really good. And between them, I'm going to put some ajuga, which in the garden is known as an evergreen ground cover. I'm using this one, which is called multicolour, and they will colour up much better if they get some sun on them. It's already looking really nice, because the thing about containers is that you usually just see the front side of them, you know, a bare front side. This way we're going to have lots of interest. That's quite a nice combination of colour and foliage there. And the next layer is going to be all cyclamen. And I've got some lovely deep pinks here and some lighter pinks. I'm going to mix them up all the way around. And then for the top, I'm going to put this in, Skimmia japonica rubella, and they're fantastic. They'll last for ages. I'm going to do another one as well for the other side, slightly shadier side of the porch, and that's going to emphasise scent and white flowering plants as well. In the top, I'm going to use this, which is a sarcococca. It's a gorgeous, fabulously scented plant, and it will flower from January right through to the end of February and fill the porch completely with scent. You've got to have one of these either outside your front door or outside your back door, because they're fabulous. And then for some white flowers, I'm going to use these dainty little mini white cyclamen, and they're gorgeously scented too. And I'm also going to put some ivies in, and then these wonderful hellebores are going to sit on the top. So I'm going to get on with it.
Well, it's not just pot plants and beautiful evergreens that give us a fantastic display at this time of year. Here in the long border, I suppose most of our colour is available during the summer, and it's vibrant and marvellous. But at this time of year, it changes to a quieter, more subtle sort of tone. And just look at some of these fantastic seed heads that we've been cutting. We've got cardoons, we've left plenty for the birds too. But look at these wonderful big fluffy seed heads, teasels, all manner of fabulous stuff. But if you want to see dried flowers used in the most spectacular way, then you can't beat a visit to Coteel Hall in Cornwall. Coteel sits high above the Tamar Valley. It's one of the least altered medieval houses in the country. Built of granite and slate stone, it's the kind of place you'd dream of spending the festive season. Here they make the biggest garland in the whole country. It stretches from one end of the hall to the other, and it's all made with flowers that they've grown on the premises. But planning for all this began last December, when David, the head gardener, started sowing seeds for the garland. Over a period of a month, thousands are sown. Then in March, pricking out began. And when I arrived in April, the seeds had been hardened off and were ready for planting out. They look so healthy, they really look splendid. I mean, these, what are these, helichrysums?
Yeah, that's right.
They're just brilliant. I mean, you're completely organic, aren't you, at the
Yes,
trust?
yeah, we've not used any slug pellets at all, and they've really not been a problem.
And they're going in peat-free compost.
All in peat-free compost.
I think that's a fabulous advertisement.
They're thriving, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
they're all looking fantastic.
What constitutes a really good dried flower?
Well, what we're looking for is something that dries quickly, dries well, and holds its form and holds the shape well.
Yeah. The French call them immortelles, don't they? I always think that's quite nice. For what's going to happen this year.
Well, the theme changes really from year to year because you don't know quite what plant's going to dominate, how the season's going to grow. So the colour theme is the main thing, and that really depends on the plant.
Honesty, which grows throughout the garden, will be used in the garland, but the majority of the 20,000 dried flowers are planted out in just 4 beds. So it's rather wet for planting, but you've got no option really, have you?
No, it's not ideal conditions, but like with so many things, you never seem to have enough time, so you've really got to try to get on.
Well, you have got a lot of plants to plant, haven't you? So your rows are about a trowel's width apart.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're planting them a trowel's width apart too, right down the row.
Yes, right the way down through, yeah.
I think, you know, if you've got a vegetable garden, because after all, you're not after an ornamental effect, are you? Growing them amongst your cabbages might be an ideal place.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'll bet when you come round this corner when these things are really going well, I bet it's absolutely wonderful, isn't it?
It really knocks your socks off and you just get a real blaze of colour.
So as well as providing all these flowers for your garland, they're also going to be giving you this fabulous show that all your visitors can enjoy. These beds are the hub of the whole operation. The final success of the garland depends entirely on what happens here. By June, the whole thing will be transformed into a sea of colour.
Well, Carol will see how that garland fared later on in the programme. Now, you can see I've done a lot of planting and also a lot of placing out of plants. And the key thing when you're building an area like this without a plan is to allow yourself the time to put plants on the ground, move them around, live with them. There's no hurry to do this. It wouldn't matter if it took days or weeks or even months, because they'll be perfectly okay in their pots. And then as you like groups, get them in the ground, and that's what I'm doing. Now, I've got here a dwarf hinoki cypress, and it's very familiar conifer, but nonetheless fascinating for this sort of scalloped shape it has to the foliage, and also a really good, rich green. And of course, green comes in every possible shade, going from almost yellow to almost blue. And if you want a blue, this pine, Picea pungens, Edith, is probably the best blue there is. Now, if you read the label, it will say that it will grow, given the right conditions, which is full sun, to 50 feet. And you might think that that's far too big to fit in a scheme like this, but you can prune it. Any of these plants can be pruned. Don't be frightened of that, particularly if you get them in when they're small. And if you're planting as packed and as close together as this, you're going to have to prune at some stage. And another blue we've got, which is Picea costa, came from the plant swap at Gardeners World Live last June. And Adrian Roberts bought us that from Leeds. So it's found its way into the garden, where it is highly treasured, really beautiful. Now, as far as the yellows go, this is a plant called Frankie Boy. It used to be known as Thuya, and you might well see it as Thuya Frankie Boy. And in fact, it's now known as Platycladus. And what's extraordinary about it are these cord-like stems and foliage. Really hardly leaves at all. And I'm planting a group here to light up this piece of the garden.
Well, it's the day before Christmas Eve, and I dare say more than a few of us will be dashing down to the garden centre tomorrow to pick up some last-minute Christmas presents. And what could be better than a house plant? But don't be panicked into buying the very first thing you see. Take a really, really good look. If you're buying a poinsettia, you're looking for a branching plant like this. It's really solid in its pot. And look at that. It's got absolutely masses of flowers. Now, we call these the flowers, but of course, it's a euphorbia. So the flowers are actually these tiny little things in the centre of these big red bracts. And these want to be tight shut If they've gone brown or they're bright yellow, then the flowers are already open and the plant won't last you nearly as long. And avoid buying things which are right near the shop door, and definitely not on a garage forecourt. You can see what happens. Look at this one. It's been in a draft and the leaves are going quite crisp and brown. And when you've bought your plant and you've got a really, really nice one, make sure it stays nice. Put it back into its sleeve. These things will help actually retain the moisture in the pot, and they'll also make sure that all this top growth doesn't get drafty on the way home. Now, if cyclamen are your thing, you're still looking for the same sort of qualities. You want something that's short and compact, and although there should be a few flowers open so you can see what it's like, this is the bit you're interested in, underneath, right inside the plant. You want lots and lots of buds in there, because with a bit of luck, you should have flowers from this for the next 2 or 3 months. So that's a beautiful plant. This, on the other hand, is really past its best. It's really wobbling around there. And there aren't many buds to come either. You really feel as though this is on the way out. If you're going to buy a plant like this, get it at a discount. Another traditional Christmas favourite is the Christmas cactus. As a nation, we buy about 3 million of them every single year. Mike Oppenham and his team in Spalding, Lincolnshire, produce over 90,000 of those plants.
The Christmas cactus is a succulent. The leaves are actually called phylloclades, and a phylloclade is a combination of stem and leaf together. It's an evolutionary adaptation to conserving water. We started growing Christmas cactus because research in England established that there simply wasn't anybody else growing Christmas cactus. And we thought it would be quite a challenge, to put it mildly. We actually received from Denmark 180,000 plugs. Each plug has 3 cuttings in it, and we put 2 plugs, one at 90 degrees to the other, in a finished pot. So the final finished Christmas cactus has 6 cuttings in it. The supermarket specification is for a bushy plant, and a one-leaf cutting simply wouldn't give us a bushy plant. Because the Christmas cactus, or Schlumbergia as it's often known as, come from the tropics, the summer months are the months where the main active growth takes place. Forcing them into flower and producing them on programme is a completely different project. This glasshouse was designed solely for Christmas cactus production. So what you see is 3 individual units, each capable of doing something completely different to the plant. Firstly, you have the blackout unit, and the concept of the blackout unit is actually to make summer become winter. Then you have what we call the supplementary lighting area, which is the area that we use to make the plants grow when winter is here. And the bit in the middle is what we call the photoperiodic section, and that's the bit where basically the plant has grown to the height and width and shape that we desire, and all we're trying to do is to hold it there so that we can prevent it from initiating flowers. It's the culmination of man versus nature, plant manipulation, really. It's quite satisfying, to be honest.
And this is the end result of all those endeavours. A really dense plant, absolutely dripping with flowers, and more importantly, loaded with buds. That'll keep going for ages and ages.
Fabulous display, isn't it?
Yeah, anybody would think it was Christmas, wouldn't it?
But they're all quite traditional, you know, traditional Christmas plants. You see them every year. But you know, what particularly catches my eye is this. You know, you wouldn't see this normally in a Christmas display. It's Bromeliad guzmania. But these are becoming more popular. Yeah. And I love them. I think they're going to be big in the future. It's
got all the right ingredients, hasn't it? All that red and green, and it looks festive, doesn't it?
It's like a little sort of mini Christmas tree, in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've got to be careful how to look after them as well, because you've got to water into the top there. Yeah.
Into the leaves.
Yeah, rather than the roots, because they're aerial roots, aren't they, really? Down at Covent Garden Market, they call these guzzies.
Guzzies.
Guzzies. Yeah, and I think they're great, really nice. And another plant, I think, you know, a slightly different take, but still going to be big at Christmas, is the chili. Because, again, it's got all the right ingredients. fabulous colours.
Yeah, wonderful sort of ivory and bright red and dense green, and it's terribly chic.
It is terribly chic as well, and it spiced up your turkey a little bit too.
Now, I've been doing well. I've got a lot in the ground here in the conifer garden. I've got in the upright plants and also the larger ones, blocking out the spaces. I'm now going down a story to get the ground covering plants because I don't want to see any soil at all. And a lot of conifers are ideal for this purpose. Now, this is Juniper procumbens nana, and any plant with the name nana in it means low growing. It comes from south of Japan, and in fact is a favourite for bonsai, which is a pretty good clue to how we want to use it, which is to keep it dwarf, let it spread where we want it to go, but restrict it otherwise. And going from that extreme, we have sulphur spray, which, given a chance, wants to spread right out here and cover the area. But we'll prune it back. In fact, the Japanese reference is a good one because I like to think of this area becoming a sort of bonsai forest. Now, there's one Christmas conifer that I haven't got in here that I need to deal with. I've resisted putting a Christmas tree into the conifer garden, mainly because the Norway spruce, in fact, grows into a giant. It'll be one of the biggest trees that will grow in this country, and it will very quickly swamp everything else. And also, now, whilst it's getting a bit late in the day for buying a Christmas tree, most of us have got them, there's plenty of time in preserving it, keeping it looking really good from now through till 12th night, which of course is January the 6th. The main problem is that the needles tend to drop off. Now, they only do that in response to the warmth of your house. These trees are designed, evolved to cope with very cold weather. And we bring them into a house that is not only warm compared to outside, but extra warm because of Christmas and so many people there. So the first thing is keep it as cold as you can in your house. The next thing is to give it some water. If you cut a flower, you don't put it into a vase with no water. Have some sort of container that you can top up every day, and that will do an enormous amount to stop those needles falling. If it's got roots like this one, obviously it'll fare much better, but you still need to keep it watered. Put it in a pot, pack it with damp sand, and then keep topping it up with water. And we're going to see if we can keep that going till next year. Now, this isn't in such good nick, but I've seen worse, and I want to try and recycle this with our shredder. Now, it's a fairly small one, just powered by electricity, but if I cut it up, I should be able to turn that into a useful material. There you go.
What a lot of conifers.
Well, it is, but I think it's shaping up, don't you?
Definitely, definitely. There's hardly room for any more.
Well, I think I'd love to squeeze in this little false cypress, Karamachiba.
But where's it going to go?
Well, I don't know, I'm sort of playing with
isn't it going
ideas.
to grow huge?
No. This one here, which I've popped in already, that's a mature one.
Right.
That's pretty much full size.
OK. So can I put one of these in there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
If I
another
dig a
one
hole, you can...
Oh, are you going to dig the hole for me?
Yeah, I'm a gentleman. And it's Christmas. Make the most of it. There we are. Thank goodness we prepared the soil.
Yeah. Earlier on in the programme, you saw me make my first visit to Cateel Hall in Cornwall, where they make an enormous Christmas garland every year. It takes the whole year to do it. My first visit was in April, so when I went back, things had really moved on. What a transformation! It's incredible.
So different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fabulous. And is this the status that we planted?
Yes, yeah, three or so months ago, and it's come on well.
Yeah, they have. And are these just at the right stage? I presume they are, because the girls are cutting away.
These are at perfect stage now. This one, you can see, is all ready for picking.
Right. So it's at that stage when you can actually see these little white flowers and the bracts are really developed.
That's right.
And this status is just, it's everybody's favourite everlasting flower, isn't it?
Certainly, this is the one that the majority of people know and recognise.
Right. And how are the helichrysums doing?
Helichrysums are not doing quite so well. We've had rain for 2 or 3 weeks, pretty much every day. It's been warm but very wet, and they've got really bad mildew, or have had really bad mildew.
What a disaster!
So it was touch and go. We're almost at the point of having to rip them out. We were considering taking them out, so...
Oh, what, 50 years of garland making at
know.
Cateel and no helichrysums? It's unthinkable, isn't it?
It is. But the sun came out and everything started to grow, which has sort of slowed up the fungal attack of the mildew. The actual bits that are still there are on the older growth, but we've been using a seaweed-based feed that's taken straight into the foliage, so it has an instant effect.
Yeah.
And you can see there that you've got 6 or 8 inches of fantastic growth now.
So you're going to be saved? You're going to
Fingers
have
crossed.
helichrysum?
While the sun's out and they're growing like this.
Yeah. So how do you cut them?
Basically, we're working to sort of a secateurs length,
Right, that's a
And
nice measurement, isn't
cutting
it?
down to the new shoots, and that'll continue to flower.
With a bit of luck, you'll get hundreds and thousands because you need them,
Yes,
don't
we do,
you?
we do.
What else is ready, David?
There's the white helictrum, that sort of white tight flower when it's not in the full sun, pops open as the sun comes out. Those are several of those ready for picking. The exochrysum, which is the sort of the yellow tight flower, very, very spiky flower.
Oh, I remember that from the spring. That's lovely, isn't it? Like a big, sort of much bolder helichrysum. So what's the next stage when we've picked everything?
Well, this is the exciting bit. It's time to go stripping.
Oh, right.
So the picking was the easy bit. Move the foliage off this lot.
Yeah, that's quite some task, isn't it? But what's the real reason for doing it so assiduously, David?
Well, it's all to do with the drying. It's important that we dry the flowers as quickly as we can. That reduces the chance of mould setting in on the flowers.
So what happens to this lot when all the leaves have been stripped?
What we do then is we put them into bunches of about a dozen pieces, and we keep the bunches relatively small because we want them to dry as quickly as we can. So the smaller the bunch, the quicker they dry. And we twist wire around to hold them all together. They're then hung onto a string in the shed. A couple of times they dry, obviously the stems shrink, so you need just to put another twist on, just to keep them tight.
That's clever, isn't it?
So,
That's brilliant. And what are the ideal conditions for drying?
You want a constant temperature and good air movement through the shed, really, and darkness is probably the most important thing, because if the sunlight gets in, the flowers will fade really quickly, and again, that's what it's all about. We'll be drying these for about 4 weeks, and when the shed's full, we'll move the whole batch over to the barn, and they'll be put into storage until we need them for building the garland in November.
I'm going to make some Christmas decorations, not quite on the scale of Coteau, but perhaps with a modern twist. And so what I'm looking for walking around the garden are things with lovely scents and textures, rosemary or sage, lovely, lovely fragrance. And I'm also looking for colours, and it always surprises me how much colour I can actually find in the garden this late, with rose hips, hydrangeas, Chinese lanterns, lots of things like that. So that's what I'm now going to go and find. I've just spotted this lovely Iris foetidissima hiding under the beech tree, and I'm going to pick that for our Christmas wreath. We all have our own ideas about how we want to decorate our house for Christmas, but we thought we'd go and see a few professionals and get some tips from them too.
This is a nice, simple but very effective ivy ball decoration that we're making. We start by making a simple ball frame out of ordinary garden wire. And you need to collect some nice pliable ivy strands from your garden so that you can wind them around the frame. Once your ball's covered in ivy, you can then hang something in the middle of it. The choice is endless. You could use something smelly such as this lavender, a natural decoration such as fir cones, or even some fruit such as these medlars.
Another good tip is to spray your holly berries with hair lacquer, and this prevents the berries from dropping off over the Christmas period.
If you're using Oasis to make decorations, instead of making big holes, you can use cocktail sticks stuck onto candles, or even the same with fruit to hold things into the Oasis.
This is a Victorian traditional decoration for your Christmas tree, which will also help to make your room smell nice. We're going to cut out a segment from each side of the orange. You have to bear in mind you need to leave a centre section, which is going to be the handle of the basket. Pull the segment away. So once you've taken the flesh out from the basket of the orange, you need to then use your clothes and decorate the outer edge of the basket. Put a ribbon on the handle and it's ready to hang onto your tree.
So there are some really good practical tips there, and I'm going to show you how to make a party piece for your Christmas table. The first thing I've got is an oasis ring, 10 inches in diameter, and I'm going to add the rosemary that I picked in the garden. I've already seared this in boiling water because it makes it last longer, and I just want to completely hide all the green with the rosemary. So once I've got all the rosemary in, I'm going to add hypericum berry, which is a lovely thing, widely available even if you haven't got it in your garden. And the good thing with hypericum berry is you can add the berry, but don't chuck the base of the stem because it's quite expensive when you have to buy it. And that actually adds a different shape and helps cover the green oasis. Rose hips, and there are still lots of these in the garden, so we can put plenty of these in because they're for free. And now I'm going to add the flowers, and I'm going to use anemone coronarias, this beautiful white one with a red centre, which is very Christmassy, and they last well in oasis, and some lilies to make the whole room smell fantastic. So first of all, the anemones, and these will be fine in oasis for 5 or 6 days. So now I'm going to add lilies, which will give fantastic scent to your Christmas house. I've already removed the anthers because they stain your clothes, the pollen does, and if it gets on cat's fur and they then ingest the pollen, it can be poisonous. So it's a good idea for those 2 reasons to take it out. So these go in as the final touch. But in fact, it's not completely the final touch because into this vase, which has shoulders to it, and that's important, as you'll see in a minute, I'm going to fill it up with cranberries. And the great thing about cranberries, as you'll know from if you buy them a bit before Christmas, is that they've got an incredibly long shelf life, and they last 3 to 4 weeks, in fact. Now I'm going to put a big chunky candle in the middle of the vase like that. So now a relatively standard table centre becomes something slightly more glamorous, and you slot it over and rest it on the shoulders of the vase. All I need to do is light the candle. With the rest of the stuff I've picked from the garden, I've made a series of different Christmas wreaths. The first one has got a really strong Mexican feel, which you wouldn't believe that we'd pick lots of it at Berryfields, but we have. Chinese lanterns, Iris foetidissima, spindle, borlotti beans that we harvested about 6 weeks ago, and miscanthus seed heads. The next one has really zany, strong colours, with pink provided by spindleberry and anemone coronarias, and the orange by the Chinese lanterns, and I've put some acid green euphorbia in here too. The next one has perhaps a more masculine feel. It almost looks like a leather sofa, I think, made from photinia leaves wrapped round an oasis base and pinned with pearly-headed pins, and it looks fantastic hanging above the fireplace.
What's nice about this wreath is that it's dogwood stems, and then we put loads of berries on it as well from around the garden, and the viburnum tinus, the metallic blue berries, look fantastic against it, and there's just some ivy interwoven again, so it'll completely biodegrade. And I've also put these up, these pecker slices, to encourage birds to feed here as well. So in a way, they've got a main course, and then they've got some pudding as well. And if the birds are still hungry, they can munch on these decorations made of seeds. Well, I'm really pleased with how it's turned out here. It's definitely jollied up the whole area. The planters look great, and I couldn't resist but use the extra plants we had left over and just pot them up informally around the base there. And those hellebores, well, I had to squeeze them in. They look gorgeous. With the bay trees here, very simple. All we've done is put some tinsel and some baubles on them. You can just decorate them. They're like outdoor Christmas trees. Now, the next thing I need to do is the lighting. Now, you may think, oh, Joe's left all his shopping out again. But no, this has got to be the most simple form of lighting. It's a Mexican idea. And all you do, get a paper bag, roll down the top so it holds its shape together, just like that. Put a couple of handfuls of sand into the bottom to weigh it down. Make sure the shape is nice and open, and then get a tea light, drop it in there, and make sure it's pretty well buried into the sand so it's not going to go anywhere. And you light it and the whole thing glows and gives the garden a nice flickering effect. It's really, really effective in the garden, and you can lay them out in a nice linear fashion like this or dot them around the garden. But wherever you put them, make sure that they're always attended, because there is a naked flame in there. I'm just going to do a few more.
Now, it's taken nearly a whole year to make, but in November, the cotillion garland was reaching completion, and Carol went down to see it in its final stages.
Despite a cold, wet spring and a changeable summer, David and his team have succeeded in growing thousands of flowers. But it's very exciting, isn't it? Wow! It's bouncing! It's fantastic!
Looking good, isn't it?
Oh, what? It's just absolutely brilliant. And you're only just over halfway, or not halfway?
We're around halfway. So
This side's all done, but
yeah.
the other side's looking a bit green, isn't it? What did you do first?
the process starts. We have a 12mm Hessian rope.
Yeah.
And to that we attach bunches of pittosporum.
How long is it?
60 foot long.
Yeah.
And you attach the bunches with a contraption that you seal sacks of potatoes with, so it twists the wire and holds it on tight. We then get everyone from the estate to come in and give us a hand to lift it up into place.
It's great up here, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yes.
So what's the process then? Which flowers go in first?
The first flowers we put in are the statice.
Yeah.
Because it's nice and compact and small. We have 4 different colours. We've got blues, pinks, whites, yellows.
Chunky too, aren't they?
They're very robust flowers as well.
Yeah.
The next thing we put in is the helichrysums. It's a lovely strong flower again, but nice and robust, so it actually is another secondary base flower, if you like.
Right.
Each layer you put in, you gradually let it come out a little bit further.
Right.
So you're just gradually getting it bigger.
Right.
And then you end up with the Limonium sawarii. And then we've got some ornamental grasses in there as well, just to give a bit more definition. And then we finally finish off with the honesty, because it's the most reflective.
So when you're putting these things in, you don't actually have any wire on them at all?
No, not at all. It's because of the way the foliage has been put together, there's a lot of stems there, and when you put the extra flowers in, they just knit together really well. You don't actually tend to lose any flowers at all, and it's just all the stems are just knitting together, hold all of the flowers in place.
The tradition of the Christmas garland at Cotillion is kept alive and well, and this year's garland is looking more glorious than ever. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because other gardeners have forgotten what's happened in their garden throughout the year, but you can see for yourself just what you've done.
Yeah, exactly. We can see which ones have done well and which ones haven't. And yeah, we get to live summer again, really, I guess.
I bet you're really looking forward to the public coming in. That's the real test, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I can't imagine anything that could possibly feel more Christmassy.
Now, I don't want to trim your lights. Constance, you haven't voiced an opinion about this. What do you really think?
Well, I have to confess to not being totally convinced about conifers, but I'm really willing to be persuaded. But I really love the different heights and colours and shapes of them, and I think you've put them together beautifully, actually.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it develops. I mean, it's never going to be in this fixed state. We're going to have to tweak it around. We're going to have to move things, play around with it over time. But
it's very festive, isn't it? Eh?
It is
very
festive.
Christmassy.
Well, I tell you what, if you think it looks okay now, I think it will look really festive in the dark. It's about as far as you can get from that 1970s image of a conifer. We'll have to thin things out in the new year, but for the moment I think we've created a place full of interest and intrigue for those dark winter days and nights. Although really, it's time to be heading indoors.
This is lovely, Joe. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, they're very effective, aren't they? The flickering light of candles are just fantastic.
I think it's immensely welcoming, don't you?
It's lovely warm colours. And did you do those as well? I like those birdseed Christmas decorations.
Treats for the birds.
Talking of warm, come on, I'm getting cold.
And reveal the hidden treasures of Britain's stately homes, next on UKtv Gardens in Castle in the Country at Christmas.